Well, for more on this, I'm joined from Dunedin by Robert Patman, Professor of International Relations at the University of Otago. Good evening to you. Just
Good evening, Alison.
Days after Newt Gingrich's wife accused him of asking for an open marriage, he has pulled off this stunning victory. How did he do it?
Well, I think there were several factors which helped Newt Gingrich. Firstly, Mr Romney has been under the receiving end of some serious attacks from the Gingrich camp. Gingrich had to win this primary. He put a tremendous amount of effort in it. And South Carolina is a very conservative state. It's where the Tea Party is strong, where it began. And I think the other thing was, I think Romney made a tactical mistake. Because he is the front runner in national terms, I think he thought he could stay above the fray rather than respond to individual attacks. And in retrospect, I think the attempt to be above the fray led to him being beneath the fray. And that is to say that he could have made some very serious claims and counter claims against Mr Gingrich during the debate. The debate was clearly crucial, I think, Alison, in determining the outcome of the South Carolina election. I think some of Romney's supporters thought that Mr Romney came across as rather limp and rather wooden, whereas Mr Gingrich came across as fluent, passionate, and for his supporters at least, and perhaps for some of the non-committed viewers, he appeared to be the sort of experienced politician that could give Mr Obama a run for his money.
Is that what Romney's going to have to do now, then, go on the attack?
Oh, I think so, and he's got plenty to attack Mr Gingrich with. Mr Gingrich was the first Speaker of the US Congress in political history that was actually, he faced a fine for his ethical behaviour, and he's got quite a lot of, he's made quite a lot of enemies, and he's certainly a Washington insider. And one of the ironies was that he continued to criticise Mr Romney for being head of Bain Capital and, what as he put it, looting successful companies. At the same time, Mr Gingrich has been a consultant for Freddie Mac and Freddie Mae, two large mortgage companies which are very unpopular in the United States, and yet Mr Romney hasn't really raised this issue. But I think those sort of issues will be raised in the next few weeks, certainly before Florida, where Mr Romney has a big organisation.
And for the last 30 years, as we know, the victor in South Carolina has always gone on to secure the candidacy. Are we likely to see that again in this case, then?
I don't think so. It's very hard to judge. Certainly Mr Gingrich has got a bit of momentum, but I think Mr Romney's always been planning for a long campaign. And I think, if you think about it, Ali, we've had 3 contests so far for the Republicans, 3 different winners. I think the Obama camp, looking at this, will be very pleased indeed, because what this signals is that the primary process is likely to be extended, intensive and divisive, which is good news for the incumbent in the White House. I think Mr Romney is still well placed for the long haul. He was fighting in a very conservative seat, South Carolina. He's seen as a moderate Republican, something which does not go down well with the sort of social conservatives or the neoconservatives within the Republican Party.
As you say, 3 different winners, 3 primaries. Doesn't that suggest that Republicans simply are not convinced by any of them?
Well, I think that is the logical conclusion, that all of them are pretty flawed. At the moment, it's incumbent on one of them to prove they're less flawed than the others. Certainly, I think Romney and Gingrich are leading the pack, and I think Gingrich benefited from Rick Perry withdrawing on the eve of this primary that we've just seen, and some of his support certainly drifted over to Gingrich. But I think this may be, if you like, a good lesson for Mr Romney, that he has to slug it out, if necessary, to win the nomination. And he's not going to simply effortlessly make his way through the country because he's the front runner. He's going to have to earn the right to be the Republican nominee, and he will have to trade quite serious claims and counterclaims with the other contender, Mr Gingrich.
What I'm hearing from you is that we can pretty much write off the others, though. It's down to a 2-horse race.
I wouldn't quite go that far. Ron Paul and certainly Mr Sanatorium, who's won apparently Iowa, I think remain certainly within catching distance. And, you know, Mr Gingrich has always had a colourful career. He could make we couldn't rule out one of the front runners making major blunders and allowing those in third and fourth, respectively, to gain new momentum. So I don't think it's quite cut and dried yet. And Ron Paul certainly has the resources and certainly is aiming to go for the long haul. But I personally think it is, at the moment, it looks between Gingrich and Romney.
And it's a fascinating race. Thank you very much for your time, Professor Robert
Thank you.
Patman.